With an every other needle tool like this, you can easily form row after row of eyelets by transferring every alternate stitch. Oops, one missing there. Every alternate stitch to its adjacent needle. So I've got 2 stitches on each of these needles. The alternate needles are empty, and when I knit across, the needles cast back on and then form an eyelet. Now, if instead of depositing those stitches on the adjacent needle, I pass this tool behind the adjacent needle and place the stitches onto the next needle, I'm going to be forming twisted stitches. And it'll work like this. I'll remove each of these stitches, try to nudge the needle latches open if you possibly can. Shift the tool 2 positions to the right. And what's happening is all of these stitches will be placed on empty needles. The last needle on the right, however, already had a stitch, so that one now has 2 stitches on the needle. Those are all single. And over here on the left there's an empty needle that I'm going to fill by picking up the purl bar of the adjacent stitch. Now, because it's a twisted stitch pattern, I'll be twisting the stitches every 2 rows. And because I want this effect to be woven, I'm going to alternate the direction of the twist. So my last twist went to the right. My next twist will go to the left, and it will use the alternate group of needles. There's a very simple way to keep track of this. I'll show you in just one second. So this tool has again shifted 2 positions, 2 needle positions, this time to the left, so that I'm placing all of the stitches back onto empty needles, except for the very last one on the left, which now has 2 stitches. And I will make a stitch over here on the right to fill the empty needle so that I'm not forming eyelets. Now I can tell by looking at the back of the work that my last twist was to the left. The next one needs to go to the right. And the way that I keep track of which group of stitches I'm twisting is quite simple. When I'm going to twist to the right, I want to make sure that I'm including the first needle to the right of 0 and then all the alternate needles. And when I'm twisting to the left, I want to make sure that I'm including the first needle to the left of 0. And that way I'll continue the alternation that causes the woven effect in the twisted stitches. So my last twist was to the left, the next one will go to the right. I'm including the first stitch on the right of 0 in this group of stitches. Let's make sure they all transfer cleanly. Shift the tool 2 positions over and making sure that I've got open latches here. Still one that closed. Single stitches, 2 stitches in this needle, empty needle over here that I will fill with the purl bar right there. Okay, now you're probably thinking that a group of twisted stitches this wide is okay for a central panel, but it certainly wouldn't do an all-over effect on a sweater. And it's really pretty simple. If I wanted to do the full width of the fabric, I can do that. The thing to keep in mind is this. My next twist would be to the left. If I started over here twisting to the left, I'm going to have a double stitch right in the middle. So if I'm twisting left, I will always begin on the left side of the knitting. Twist those stitches first. I have a double stitch here and an empty needle here, but when I take the next group of stitches and I move them to the left, that will fill the empty needle in the middle, and the only double stitch will be all the way over on the other side, on the right. So I'll make a stitch here by picking up the bar and knit 2 rows. Now my next twist is going to go to the right, so I will begin on the right, and I'll also make sure I include the first stitch to the right of 0. Shift 2 positions over, double check those pesky latches. It's still the end of winter here in Connecticut, and we've got a lot of static in the air with all the heat on. So I'm fighting with these latches all the time. Double stitch, empty needle, soon to be filled. It's a good idea when you're working twisted stitches like this, so many of them in one row, to work with a much larger stitch size than you would normally. This is a DK weight yarn. I'm on a mid-gauge machine, and I am in fact whoops, let's catch that bar. I am in fact using a stitch size 8, whereas normally I would be using a much smaller stitch size. Okay, next twist to the left. Shift the tool over 2 positions. All right here. And then make the stitch. The fastest way to do this, like many other hand manipulated techniques, is slowly.